Hey, sunshine.
How is everyone? I hope y'all are good because this morning I started off not too great. Definitely a little under the weather, to say the least. But we are surviving and thriving.
It's been a week. We've had a heck of a week. I know things have been crazy for both of us.
For sure.
The last couple of weeks have been a little intense. This week is really, it's been a test, man.
It has been a test, but we made it. I mean, today's Friday.
It's Friday. You guys are listening to this on a Tuesday.
Y'all are going to be listening to this on a Tuesday for sure.
So you're almost there.
We're so sorry. You
So
are
sorry.
almost there. But yeah, we went to, let's see, at the beginning of the week, we had a conversation with one of our partners about some events coming up. And how we're wanting to kind of host some in-person events. So
it's pretty crazy. We're looking at hosting some really, so some of the feedback we've gotten is that it feels like you're kind of on a couch chat with us. And I think that we unintentionally created that
100%.
and we love it. We love that it's like you're having a chat with your girls and you're up close and personal. And it should feel literally like sitting down with your girlfriends and talking about those hard things. And so we wanted to bring that to you guys in person.
Yeah. So those that don't watch and just listen, currently Mandy and I are bumming it out. I don't have, I wouldn't say not a lick. I threw some blush on, but makeup said no to it. I'm wearing a hoodie. Mandy's in some athleisure wear. We are.
I'm going to direct quote Brittany Mills here. I'm crusted and busted.
Literally. Busted
and dusted. We literally were like, let's be cozy, let's be casual.
Yes.
And it feels nice. So we want to kind of bring those same vibes to you guys of really intimate conversations, getting to hear from incredible women, but in a space that's comfortable.
Right. I feel like too, random tangent, and maybe this is for maybe a new episode, but I feel like women always feel like they have to show up at our very, very, very best or it won't be accepted. But I think that we've identified a really good space of come as you are, and you're still going to have a phenomenal story. You're going to be accepted. So
yes. I love it.
Exactly.
Amazing. And then the end of our week, we actually ended with an incredible local event.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I got to connect with some really amazing women. I'm excited to see, we have some fun things planned from you guys following that, and met with just some inspirational rock stars, which I think the one thing I'm really loving about this journey for us is I didn't realize how many women are out there that really truly want to support other women.
Yeah.
They want to step up and they want to be supportive. They want to help you achieve your dreams and chase those. Mm-hmm. And that is it's beautifully alarming to me. I did not expect it. And I think it's been the most touching thing to see women be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is incredible. How can I help support you?
And I think too that a lot of times, even within that event last night, y'all, it was so cool. There were so many different people, so many different walks of life too. And I think that's what makes it even better. But yeah, Mandy and I, we had a great time, and got to meet a lot of new people too. And also even people that are going to be potential members and guests on the podcast.
Oh my gosh. We have some really, I am thrilled over this. I'm so excited to bring you some of the women that we're going to bring to you guys, because I think one thing we've been rather intentional about is finding and curating guests that everybody can identify with, right?
Right.
You might not identify with the guest on this episode, but you might identify with the guest on the next episode, and certain pieces might identify with you. But we want to really reach everybody here. I want you to feel included, because you are included, and that's the whole purpose of this, is finding your space, finding your tribe, and finding the people that make you feel supported and make you feel inspired and empowered and excited to be on this journey of being an incredible woman.
Exactly. And mentioning that, finding your tribe and all of that, we actually have a very, very special guest this evening. It is Jess from Love is Blind Season 6, and someone that I absolutely think that is in my tribe and a part of, women who are uplifting, encouraging, and determined. I definitely think that she embodies determination, and like she's always motivated, always determined to be better, do better. And so we're really excited to, get to hear her story. Jess has not had the easiest walk of life. And I think, in society, there's a lot of times where if someone presents themselves as beautiful, confident,
having it all together,
exactly. It's like, oh, yeah, like she's had a cookie cutter life, silver platter, things of that nature. But I can actually testify to her story. That has not been the case. And so it's nice to be able to break those barriers and see who that person is behind all of her beauty and behind her presentation of okay, yeah, she absolutely looks like she's got it all together. And let me say too, at this point, she does have it together.
But she has a story.
She has a story, for
she
sure.
Has walked through some difficult things and is a cycle breaker herself, right? Mm-hmm. And so to see that and to see where she is today, I hope that her story then inspires other women who are maybe facing similar struggles or patterns or things that they're trying to work through, to say oh wow, look at, she presents as this woman who's got it all together, and has truly figured it out, and she's overcome these things. How do I also do that? I'm so freaking excited to hear from her on that front.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. So we hope that you all enjoy it as much as we will. And of course, leave your comments below, questions below as well, and let's get it started. We have Jess with us. Jess from Love is Blind season 6, and my bestie boo, more importantly. And we're so incredibly excited to have her and talk about all good things. So yeah, we're ready to kick it off. Let's get into it.
Let's go. Okay, wait. So Jess, I know everybody's kind of familiar with you. Obviously, your name, I think, has become a household name pretty quickly.
Oh God.
Tell us a little bit about Jess. Give us your 30-second pitch, right, of who Jess is, and maybe things that people didn't get from seeing you on TV, or the things that you wish more people knew. Tell us about Jess that maybe people don't really know about that you wish they did.
No pressure. So first and foremost, I think I want people to know, I feel like already the ones who know, but above all else, I want everyone to know that I did Love is Blind for the right reasons. And I think it's funny, to see how different people receive different things and how they perceive it. But I don't think that you could fake being so in love and putting so much of your heart and soul into something. But I do want people to know that, and I want people to know that there's nothing I would have done differently. I have a couple regrets, but I wholeheartedly feel like everything happened the way it was supposed to, and I feel like I went through that experience, and now I'm on the other side of it, and I have a greater purpose in all of it. And somehow I know that that experience is going to lead me to what my purpose is and who my person is. So I don't know if that answered that.
I think it absolutely did. That was amazing. So, okay, I know we have some followers who've never seen the show and who have no idea who Jess is. I know. So you can define it. I know that I really connected and resonated with your story because you're a cycle breaker, and that for me was beautiful. I love seeing other women break cycles, create meaningful change, and just rewrite that story. Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I really don't know what the cycle was for me, as far as in my family and where I come from, because I know my biological parents, I know my biological mom, but a fun fact, she was actually also adopted. So I don't know much about, I don't know anything about my family history on either side, but I just knew, I decided actually in high school when I got pregnant with Autumn that my life could go a couple ways. And, I was in group homes and I was in foster homes around other children. And I kind of saw the trajectory of where their lives were going and where mine could go. And I just knew that, honestly, I knew and I had seen and experienced that God had delivered me from so many things that it wasn't for nothing. So I knew that there was a lot of routes I could have taken, but I knew I just wanted to be a good person and make good choices. And then when I got pregnant, I knew I wanted to be a good mother. So then my purpose shifted from, just wanting to make it out of the circumstances I was in to, okay, I have a whole life I'm responsible for. Everything I do is for her. So I guess we can give all the credit to God and Autumn.
Shout out to God and Autumn.
That's fair. She's up there.
Yeah, like I wanted to ask you about, obviously I know your story of like foster care and whatnot, but because I feel like, and so many people that have been in foster care can resonate with you of like, that is not an easy place to be. And it's tough. You're seeing people coming in and out of the homes. You're having anticipation of like, am I going to get adopted? Like you never really know. And I admire and always have like your strength of being so positive and also standing up for yourself. And I promise we were not going to get emotional on this podcast. You know how I am. Goodness. But like, I want to know, how do you continue to wake up every day in foster care and be like, okay, no matter what, like I'm still going to make it. Like I'm still going to stand up for myself. I'm still going to show up for myself. Like I'm going to come out on the other side.
To be honest, there were more days than not where I didn't feel that way. There were plenty of times where I didn't think I was going to make it out. Sometimes I didn't even think I would make it out alive. There was a period of time, and I've actually never talked about this, but I've never been asked a question like that. So there was a period of time when I was a teenager, when I was going back and forth from being in foster care to being placed back with my mom.
Okay.
Because she would relapse and then she'd get clean. There was a period of time where I was just jumping back and forth pretty inconsistently. And my younger brother, at the time, he and I both got placed back in my mom's custody, and I was actually taking care of him full time. And I was in 8th grade, and I saw the way things were going. I could see her like showing the signs of relapse again. And I was like, I just don't want to go through this anymore. I don't want to go back into foster care. I don't want to go to another home. And I actually attempted suicide when I was in 8th grade.
Oh,
so,
goodness.
Yeah, I did. So, and that was really horrible. But I remember, I remember waking up in the hospital and being like, is this heaven? Like, and then, like I got some help with that, and I made it. I came out on the other side of that, and I realized then, like, I have a purpose here. Like, God really wants me here.
You are the chosen one, baby. If anything about you, you're the chosen one.
I'm supposed to be here. So, I mean, the hardships didn't end there, and I went back into foster care and all that. But I knew, like, I was here for a reason, and I didn't know what it was. And that was before I even got pregnant with Autumn, so I didn't even have, like, that purpose mindset at that point. But I knew I was supposed to be here for a reason. So anyway, all that to say, I wasn't always positive. I wasn't always like, I'm so strong, I can do this. I just knew God kept showing me signs of, you have a purpose here and you need to be here. 100%. So that's just what I hung on to. Anytime I felt alone, anytime I felt like I can't do this, anytime I felt like I couldn't go any further or go walk the journey anymore, God picked me up and carried me. So I can't even take credit for.
I love it. I love it.
That was so long-winded.
No, that was beautiful. That's incredible.
Great. So that's exactly like what we want.
That's amazing.
Want you to do that. Yes.
Yeah. Like we want you, like we want to know more about Jess, right? Like these are personal things that, like, so my nephew was in the foster care system. My parents actually adopted him and raised him.
Wait.
So like from his age of 8, I was like 14. I got a little brother. And I got to see like the struggle of the foster care system and like see him go in and out of it, go back and forth.
Yeah.
And like parents trying hard to get it back together. Right. And it's like the purpose of the foster care system is to reunite, right? Like they always want it. And that's unfortunately not always the best fit. And now you're a mom yourself, which is such an incredible, beautiful thing. But I imagine that there are others who have come from like struggling with that relationship, right? Like you are growing up in foster care, you maybe have never experienced having that parental relationship. You maybe haven't seen that in the way that you would want to. what advice do you have for those who are becoming parents, who are coming from the foster care system? Because I always, like, coming myself, I'm like, none of us have perfect parents, right? Like, nobody gets a perfect example. But I think to see, like, watching you interact with Autumn is such a beautiful
No, it's the best thing ever. It is the best thing ever.
I imagine it's like so many women are like, I've went through this, or even men who are like, I've gone through this and I'm not sure if I can be a mom. I'm not sure if I have the tools or like the capability. What do you have to say for them?
So Autumn's in the other room right now.
Yes. By the way, Autumn's like literally right over there.
He's in Brittany's room with the door closed. And that's my trigger word. Someone mentioned her. So now I'm going to have to get up and go love on her. Because how can I not? So my advice would be like to foster parents or just like.
I think to foster parents, because I think that's it, like coming from that other side of it, like how can you show up and be a good foster parent? And then the other side is like, how do you prepare yourself to be a mom coming from something so difficult?
So as far as foster parents go, like I had more bad ones than good ones, but I will focus on the good, which is my adopted mom. She's a literal angel walking this earth, and so are my sisters. You've met my sister.
They're phenomenal.
And you would never, like,
know.
You'd never know. Like, they are, I always say they're my God-given family. And she, from the second I met her, and I was such a problematic teenager. I mean, I didn't, like, do anything, like, crazy or, you know, scandalous. I mean, I got pregnant, but I didn't
Neither here nor there.
I didn't have behavioral problems. I just had a really bad attitude. Like, I was
You're a teenage girl.
there was that, but on top of that, at that point, I had been used to basically raising myself my whole life. So I had a real problem with authority. Like, you couldn't tell me that I couldn't do something. I'm like, who are you? I've been fighting for my life.
You're like, I've been an adult for the last 5 years.
And
Nice try.
like, understandably, foster parents have a really difficult time with that. And that's really hard, especially with a teenager by that point, especially if you've been in foster care your whole life. You can imagine all the things they've been through. But my mom, she never treated me any differently than her biological children. If anything, she showed me faith. I mean, she'll tell you I'm her favorite child, and I love that. But she was just so patient, and she just gave me grace in every situation where, I mean, I truly didn't even deserve it, but like, it's an active choice I think you have to make. Is you're not dealing with normal children who've grown up in normal circumstances. Like, they've been through a lot, and it requires a lot of patience, a lot of grace, and just so much love. Like, it's something you have to choose to do every day, because these children are used to people just, you know, coming and going. Like, you have to choose to be a constant in their life, and that's a huge responsibility, which is probably why there's not enough foster parents.
Yeah, that's definitely a hard beat. Like, you have to choose it already when you become a parent, and now you're choosing it with extra compassion, with extra patience, and like, being a parent is tough as is. Like, the patience you have to have 100%. Like, imagine multiplying that by 10. Like, you have to have so much grace.
We'll have to get my mom on here one of these days, because she,
oh my God,
she's not real. She's not a real human mom.
I love that.
Yeah.
But as far as like regular parenting and being mom, I'm not one to take advice. Like, I'm 11 years into this and I'm still figuring it out. It's just like, instinctively, you just do what you have to do. You figure it out. It just comes to you.
But that's the thing, like, even watching you, so coming back from the show and like the first time that I ever met Autumn, like, it was, you just know, like, you can see in a child's eyes for sure, like, their love and their compassion. Like, it's very easy. I think as adults and like as we grow, we try to like mask that because emotions are, you know, they make us weak or something. And which is so awful that's like the stereotype. But the thing is like, when first meeting you and Autumn, like outside of Love is Blind and like being on set, you could just feel and visibly see like the love that you were able to give her. And it was like so pure. And so that's the thing, is it's like, you know, with everything that you face, like, you were in a foster home, like, you were back and forth, like you said, from your mom to the home. And it's like, it's nearly, okay, let me get my hopes up and then I'm let back down. Let me get my hopes up and I'm let back down. And being able to be so consistent with Autumn and keep her at like, okay, this is my mom. She's always showing up for me. She's always doing what's right. She's always making the best decision, not only for me, but for us. Like, you're not giving her that roller coaster of a life. Like, you're just remaining balanced.
That makes me feel so good that
It
somebody
looks so
noticed that, because no,
true.
I don't.
Her demeanor reflects it.
Yes.
Just so we're clear.
I'm gonna have to go bite her head in if this is too much for me. I definitely don't think I always make the best choices. And that's something through motherhood you have to accept, is you are going to make mistakes and you are going to
100%.
disappoint yourself and you will disappoint your children. Like, that's just human and it's hard. But the most important thing to me was being a constant for her and her knowing she's never going to look over her shoulder. Is she not?
No, that was the ice.
I was like, baby.
I know.
I never wanted her to look over her shoulder and think, gosh, I wish my mom was there and she's not. Like, and I think that's what happens, or what can happen sometimes when you grow up in a situation that's not ideal with your parents. It goes one of two ways. Either you become just like them, or it gives you a really good example of what you don't want for your children. And for me, that was,
Yes.
I didn't have consistency. I never had a home base. And Autumn knows, even with, the new circumstances and like me traveling more and like, seizing the opportunities that are being given to me, which I'm doing, in turn, just to give her a better life. She knows there's never a moment. If she calls me and says she needs me, I'm not even on the first plane back. I'm teleporting. Like, I'm snapping my fingers and I'm magically appearing to wherever she is.
Exactly.
She knows that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, actually, Mandy and I were talking about this before recording. I can, and obviously, my mom. Like, that is one thing Mama Ruby has always done for me. We have been through it, but there's one thing that, like, I can look over my shoulder and she's there.
I'm surprised she's not here right now.
Right. Like, she might be in the corner.
She's behind the couch. We've got her. Jokes on everybody. She's here for every recording.
No, that woman has no boundaries, so she's here.
So bad.
But that's the thing, is like, no matter until the very day that I take my last breath, like, I can always say, like, my mom was there. And so, like, Autumn is going to be able to say that. And of course, like, you do have to travel. You do have opportunities. You are busy. You have all of this stuff. But, like, Autumn in her heart is like, Mom, my mom, she's there. She's mine. She's not going anywhere.
No, she knows. She comes before all of this. And people are like, what does Autumn think about the fame and all this? It's neither here nor there to her. Like, I'm still Autumn's mom. Autumn does not see me as anything different. And people are like, oh my gosh, well, what did Autumn think when you said this? Or what did Autumn think about seeing on YouTube, on TV? And I'm like, she thinks it's very cool.
She's actually asking what's for dinner tonight.
But she's like, great. Okay, Autumn knows who her mother is. Like, in every moment where the world was like, oh my God, I can't believe Jess said that, Autumn was like, I'm surprised that's all she said.
I'm surprised there's not more.
Autumn knows her mother. Like, it's neither here nor there to her.
I think this is a great kind of turning point here. As a mom, you're showing up. And I think that our community, our society, like, you do a little mom shaming, right? Like, mom shame is so, I'm not even a mother, and I see the mom shame, and I'm like, I can't imagine trying to show up and be an exceptional woman to provide that example for your daughter, and somebody feeling like it's okay to put shame. And it's such a, like, it's a mind-boggling thing to me, because I'm like, being a woman is hard. So being a mother is hard. Like, living on this existence and this life, like, it is hard. So let's stop. Existing is expensive. It's hard. It's stressful. Breathing. So let's stop shaming each other. You have exemplified such a beautiful example of, like, doing things for you and making sure that, like, you're showing up for you, and in turn it shows up for her. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Like, you decided to go on the show, right? And, like, you just said it a minute ago, like, everything I do is, like, for her. So tell us a little more about that, because I'm wondering if there are moms who are like, I want to do this thing.
Yeah.
I don't, like, how do I do it and still be a mom?
No, I see that more than anything. And I love the tremendous, like, mom community that's, like, rallied around me, and they're like, I needed to see this today, or I needed to hear you say that, or I needed a reminder that it's okay for me to put my life jacket on first, because that's what they tell you. And you're like, logically, that makes sense. Like, I'm not keeping my head above water. Like, how am I going to do that for my children? But it's so hard. Instinctively, your children come first. Like, and Autumn does. She comes first. And it took me, like, Autumn was 10 when I went on Love is Blind. And it took me literally 10 years to say, okay, it's okay for me to step away and go and do this. I've checked every single box. I know that she's taken care of. I know that she's not going to want or need for anything. She was old enough at that point for me to have a conversation with her and get her blessing and approval. But even then, it didn't feel like it was something I was doing just for me, because I think the best thing we can do for our children is let them see us be happy and pursuing things that make us happy, because they do know the difference. And a lot of people don't understand how intuitive children are, but they see and hear, and more importantly, feel everything. And children know. I mean, and as moms, you think, okay, well, I haven't eaten or showered or gotten my nails done or done anything for myself in forever, but I've done all this for my child, so they must know that, like, I'm okay. No, like they know when you're pouring from an empty cup.
Yes,
they do. They see it and they feel it. So, I mean, I even still now, because of the mom shaming, like, everybody makes mistakes. Moms make mistakes. Feeling like you're making a mistake in front of the entire world and hearing everyone weigh in on it and kind of like pick at something you're already like sensitive about is like a whole different that's been the hardest part about all of this, is the mom shaming, and knowing, I know and I feel in my soul that I did the right thing by going, but everyone has an opinion, and everyone, can take something and say you're a horrible mom for that. And when you see and hear something enough, you almost start to believe it.
Yeah, so, right. Not. It's like you're constantly hearing it, and you can tell yourself whatever, but it's hard. It's like everybody's inputting their opinion and totally weighing it. You said something of like, I can't pour from an empty cup. And I think it's a very interesting point of like, you're giving her that example. So the moms who are burning themselves out and not taking care of themselves, like, you're just teaching your daughter that, like, that, and your child, that that's how they should live too. And so I thought that was really interesting.
There was actually, so Mandy and I went to an event last night, and there was a photographer there, and she does boudoir shoots. Oh. And she was talking about how, like, women come up to her and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to put something on your calendar from a year from now because, like, I need to lose weight. Aww. Or I don't have time for this. Like, I'm going to have to figure out a different time. Because like it needs to be booked all the way out. And she was
mom body was a thing too.
Like,
that made me so sad. They were like, "Oh, I just had kids."
Yeah,
like,
I just had kids. Like, I need to wait. All of this stuff. And she was like, "No." And it was at like an all women event. And she's like, "No, like book the shoot now. Yes. Like do it now. Like that is your body. It created life. It created so much, like do it now." And so what resonated with me is she's like, there's so much around like putting it off and like putting something off for yourself to be able to take care of yourself for your children. And I can testify. So like my mom, as we've been through it, I always saw her spread herself so thin. And so, I mean, she was an incredible mom with all the circumstances that we were dealt and the cards that we were dealt. But the thing was that I knew, like you were saying, like children know. And it's like, I'm not a mom, but if I could give advice to moms who are like, okay, I'm doing everything for my child, but it's like, baby, what are you doing for you to be able to do these things for your child? And I feel like that's where the mom shaming comes in, because it's like, no, I can't take time for myself to be able to show up. No, that's what you need to do. Yes. And like show your children that you are taking care of yourself to be strong.
It's so good for them.
Exactly. It really
You're
is.
literally teaching them to take care of themselves. You're teaching them like
and
they're
to
important.
Choose themselves. And when you have, like, Autumn is so kind and so selfless.
She is. She really is.
And she naturally thinks of everyone else's feelings before hers. And I love that about my baby. But I have to constantly remind her, it is okay to choose you. It's okay, and you have to take care of you first. Your feelings and what you need come first.
Oh, absolutely. That is, I wish my parents would have instilled that. That is a beautiful thing. Like, to remind her constantly, like, you are number one. You truly are. Not in a kind or selfish way, but like,
Autumn cannot be unkind.
Yeah, it's like you can be more kind if you've been kind to yourself first.
Yes.
You have more to
like
give.
When you love yourself and you love who you are, that helps you, like, how you love yourself is how you teach other people how to love you. Because when you give too much of yourself to everyone else, then that harbors resentment and regret within you, because you're like, oh, well, you know, I made them feel good, but that didn't make me feel good to do that.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That's all. And that's the thing too, is that I feel like a lot of times people try so hard, and I'm like, okay, but you're forgetting about what's important. Like, you're forgetting about the person. But what I appreciate about what you just said is like you're teaching your children, or like you've taught Autumn like how to take care of herself and like how to love herself. And like, say when the day comes, you know, Auntie Brittany, Auntie Mackenzie, Auntie Laura, like we're gonna be like, nope, you're not allowed to date.
Oh no, ever.
When she goes to date, like it is going to set her aside from other girls, other young women, of setting a standard for these men of like, okay, you're actually not enough. Like your love is actually not enough because it's not at a certain caliber, and like that is okay. And I think so many people think like, oh, that's being picky, or like that's not being open or something like that. But like that is confidence.
Absolutely.
That's strong. That's independence. And like y'all, when I tell y'all, Jess, like watching her and Autumn together, like she'll look at Autumn and be like, we're not accepting that.
Absolutely.
Like we're not accepting that. And I feel like I would have ran from so many red flags if my mom was like, no, that is not what you're accepting.
But it's not like I've dated all gems. Like, you know, I've had a very egregious past as far as dating. So like I've gone through my stages of self-love. But that's why at this point in my life, dating is so important. Everyone wants to know. Like, oh my gosh, are you dating? What's your type? Who is he? What happened with so-and-so? And I'm like, it's not like just for kicks and gigs. Like dating for me is so important because whatever example of love and dating I set for Autumn is what she's going to find acceptable. You know what I'm saying?
It's so serious.
So every woman, you know, should have every box checked and have, you know, all of the things you want. Everyone should have that. But for moms specifically dating, you have to be extra careful. And it's so hard, you know, to choose what's right for you and your baby, because it's easy. I mean, that's been my dating history. Like I've liked men and wanted to be with men because I liked them, but then had to come to the tough decision. Well, would they be a good example to be around Autumn? Absolutely not. And like, that's like a different level of like consideration you have to have when you're a mother dating, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say, and I know that like audience and viewers and listeners, they're like, okay, I have my one child. I have 3 children. Like how do I even find the time to date? Where do I even start?
Yeah.
Like, what do I even do? When do I approach this? And I know actually like on the show, for example, those that you didn't listen or watch, excuse me, you know, Jess, like it was, you wanted to approach it in a certain manner. And it's like, what would you tell moms entering the dating scene or in it now? Like, how do I approach that conversation of like, okay, well, it's not just me that you're getting. It's not just me that you have to love either. Like, it's, you know, you're dating me, but you're also dating my children because you have to love and embody all of us.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought this up because this was such a controversy. Like, this was such a thing.
I try.
Before the show even came out, like that, I think that was like one of the first promo videos that Love is Blind put out, was the clip of me, in the lounge right before we went into the pods, saying, you know, I am not going to just walk in the door and be like, hey, I'm Jess, I have a child.
Hey.
Like a lot of people had an issue with that. And I can see, you know, both sides of the coin, because it is absolutely the most important part of me and who I am. But a lot of people heard me, but they didn't hear me when I said, I'm a mother, but it doesn't define me. And some people were like, how does that not define you if it's the most important thing about you? It's because, yes, she is the most important part of me. Like, yes, but I'm more than just that. I have a personality. Like, I'm funny.
You are funny. You are funny.
I'm funny. I'm a good partner. I'm gonna be a great wife. I'm loyal. I'm compassionate. Like, I'm a lot of other things. And
She said, and I'm funny.
Right. First and foremost, like, you need to know that. Right after I have a kid, you need to know that.
Like, I will be the funny person in this relationship. If you're not okay with that,
I already know my back is going to hurt from carrying all the humor.
It's fine. It's fine.
But like, you know, and it's like a case by case basis. Like, I've been on first dates where we've sat down at the table and like there's been something in the conversation that prompted it. Like, what are you most proud of? Or do you want to have children? I don't hear those questions and think, oh, it's not been the right amount of time yet, I can't tell them. No, like if it comes up naturally, then I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you asked me like what I'm most proud of. Like I have a daughter. She's my pride and joy. She's my greatest accomplishment. Or it's always funny when they're like, do you want to have children and how many? And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, you know, I already had a head start. And they're like, I'm sorry. I'm like, yeah, I have a 10 or 11-year-old.
I had a head start.
But I don't ever walk into a situation and be like, hey, I'm Jess. I have a kid.
Like nice to meet you. Happy first day. I have a kid.
Like, imagine if I went on a date with a man and he did that. That would be so off-putting.
And it's funny that you say that, and I'm really glad that we're able to like elaborate and explain that. So once again, those that did not see Love Is Blind, Jess was sitting in the lounge, and they asked her, like, you know, what are you? I can't remember exactly what Vanessa said, but it was some question that just like brought Jess to that point.
She asked how I was going to tell the guys how I had a child, and like telling them is never the issue. And there's no issue in it at all. It's just the timing. And I responded with, I don't plan on leading with that because I want to give the men a chance to get to know me first. And a lot of people were like, oh my God, I can't believe she waited so long. Y'all, most people I did tell the first day or the second day. I didn't wait until day 9 and be like, oh my God, by the way, now that we're in love. Yeah, it didn't happen that way.
But I want to highlight, it's like, you know, to those that you did get a few negative comments about, it's like, but really if people were to break it down and think about it, I feel like some people would have responded and been like, okay, like, what does that mean? Like,
yeah.
Or not, what does that mean?
Socially uncomfortable and awkward. You don't know how to talk about yourself. You don't know how to, like
exactly.
You're dating, right? Like, you're a mom, and that's a piece of you, and that's a big piece of you, but it's like, it's not who Jess is entirely. Like, there's a whole wonderful human that they need to get to know.
Most importantly, so the idea, like, and this is on the most basic level that I thought was like common knowledge, but I guess not. So let's just throw it out there.
Right.
There's 15 men and 15 women. The idea is for you to walk out of there with one person. So chances are 98% of the people, I mean, and there were a couple of us who had like more than one good connection.
Yep.
But why on God's green earth would I tell one of the men that I've still not even had another conversation with to this day, the most important and intimate part of my life? Like, no offense, I love the whole cast, but like, that's neither here nor there. I'm not like, why would I want to have such a big, important conversation with someone like I don't really care about? That was one of the things that I'm like, I'll know when I want to share that with the men I'm dating, because they'll make me feel like it's a safe enough space, and they'll make me feel like, okay, this is someone I want to share this with, because I can see it, you know, I can see it going somewhere where like part of the conversation is relevant.
Yeah.
But people are like, why didn't you tell everybody? You're right. And I'm like, why would I? Like,
You wouldn't in the real world.
And that's the thing.
In real world dating, you wouldn't open with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Relating back to the real world, like, I just want to highlight for like single moms or, you know, who are dating or in the dating scene, like, it is okay. It is okay to take the time to go out on a date, get yourself a drink, have some fun, look at this man, have this conversation, and be like, okay, you know, I like this person. Because like, in hindsight, and come for me, whatever, but like, what is it worth of telling someone that you have absolutely no interest in, but those are your intentions on, okay, my intentions are pure and to date right now. However, I have no interest. So like, we're not going to take it there.
Right.
You know? And, you know, if they pass us walking in the street or, you know, at the park and see us, yeah, this is my baby. And there you have it.
And there you have it. But like, but above all else, and I see this question in my DMs and in my comments a lot, single mothers being like, how do I date? Or how would I find a man that would love me and my child and accept us both? I'm here to tell y'all, there is no shortage of men that want to date single women. And I'm not just saying that because I'm me, because I can already hear people saying, oh, no. There are some men that even prefer it, because
there is.
Because all women are queens and like we all deserve everything, but some men have a thing for single moms because I mean there's a different vibe to us. Like a lot of men like a woman who knows what she wants, a woman who's not playing around, a woman who's like, I'm dating to marry, you know, and single moms a lot of times just kind of have a different head on our shoulders. So I'm telling single mothers, y'all don't need to work.
Don't lose hope,
somebody
mamas.
for
And
you.
don't lower that standard, right?
Right.
Like, don't get this idea that like there's a scarcity of men out there.
There's none.
Like y'all, there's no scarcity.
You just have to put yourself out there, and I promise you will be surprised. You'll be beating them off.
Beating them off with a stick. Well, guys.
That's the advice. Get the sticks ready.
Okay, so going kind of backwards a little bit. So becoming a single mom. You got pregnant at a young age, and we really, for our audience, there's no age limit. It is for how young you are to a certain degree or how old you are. And in the case that there is a young woman out there listening who has become a young mom, what advice would you give them directly of how to navigate through that process?
One thing that's not talked about enough, understandably, because I would never promote or condone teen pregnancy. Like, I wouldn't, but it's always something that's going to happen.
It is, yes, right. It is going to happen.
One thing that people don't talk about is, so I got pregnant when I was 18 with Autumn. No one was happy for me. You know, that's like one of the happiest and most joyful times in someone's life is when you're bringing another life into the world. And I just remember after telling a couple people, like, no one was happy for me. And I mean, I get it because it's like your first instinct when you're that young, people are like, oh my God, your life is over. And it's like, you're already scared enough as it is. Because at that point, like, I was a senior in high school. I had a full academic scholarship. Like, at that point, I had
And she's smart, y'all, okay?
At that point, I had worked my tail off because I knew the only way, or I thought the only way of getting out of the circumstances I was in was to get a good education so that I could get a good job. And at the time, I wanted to become a dentist, which is crazy because now I'm like,
wait, I could actually see that.
I could totally
I
see
could,
it.
but
I know you hate it.
I would hate it. But at the time, that was my plan. That's what I thought I wanted to do. And so then getting pregnant and realizing, okay, I've got to make a lot of tough choices that I didn't, plan on making prior to this. It was hard. And I had my family's love and support, but I knew, if everyone could have had it their way at the time, they would have preferred I didn't get pregnant because,
right.
Teen moms just don't have the best, there's a stigma around them.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would say to young moms, like, you're going to have to be built different. I don't think that stigma is ever going to change. And just know that when you got pregnant and how young you are, I know it's scary, but it doesn't make them any less of a mother. It doesn't make them any less valuable. It doesn't make them any less capable. Because it was hard. But it would have been hard for a 35-year-old who was married. Motherhood.
It's a transition.
Coming into parenthood is hard, but just know, like, you are equipped. Like, God, remember what God says of you. That's what I always had to go back to, because at that point, a lot of people were shocked I was pregnant. Like, oh my God, and I saw and I heard people whispering. Because even if you'd been, and I had been just with the same person, people automatically assume, like, oh, she must be promiscuous, or, like, it's not as exciting or as respected as someone who's older and married, and I get it. But I would just say to young moms, like, you're not any less valuable or capable or equipped.
And I wish that, like you said, we're not here to, like, promote, like, yes, you're a young girl. That's absolutely what we're encouraging, because you face so many challenges, and especially at a young age, like, you're still growing yourself. So it's like a baby bringing a baby into this world. But I just wish, like you said initially, like, no one was happy for me. And, I think bringing life into this world is a beautiful thing. It is always going to carry a sense of happiness. And so becoming that mom and finding out, like, okay, yeah, like, I'm pregnant, you're still going, you might be like, oh God, I'm freaking pregnant. But it's also important, like, to make note of, like, there's going to be a sense of happiness. And so people need to remember, yes, you're going to have those that judge, whisper, talk about you, ask if you're being like, okay, well, did she sleep around here?
Yeah.
There?
Do you know who the dad is?
Right.
Yeah.
But
I know.
it's awful.
I
Like,
know.
why does that have to be our first thing? Why can't it be, okay, this is new. This is going to open different doors, completely different doors. Like, one, how can I help, and how can I support? Like, we didn't want this to happen, or we didn't expect it to happen, but like, how can we now navigate this? I think the stereotype would be completely different. And I think a lot of young women getting pregnant wouldn't be like, I have to hide this, or I have to run away, and like, all of that.
God,
Like, there's so many different things that push people
I
that
think,
way.
like, if we started approaching, like, that, I think spans across more than just, like, pregnancy, right? Like, when somebody shares the news with us, like, I don't know why it's our first instinct to put our opinion on it, right? Like, oh, I did this or I did that. And somebody's like, oh, that's terrible. That's, like, scary. How are you going to do that? Instead of like, wow, like, that's great for you. Or like, how can I support you?
Yes.
How are you feeling about that? Why do we input our own, like, thoughts and opinions? Like, especially as women. Like, I'm imagining the people who are probably the harshest on you were women, and it's like, hi, we're all on the same team.
No, truly. Or even
insane.
after the fact, like after having autumn, and that's another thing. Like when you mentioned like mom bod, like I get a lot of moms asking like, oh my God, how did you bounce back? Or how do you look like? I had autumn when I was 18. I guarantee everybody, and I will, God willing, in Jesus' name, when I have another baby, I'm not going to bounce back the same. Like I was 18 and I didn't do anything.
Baby.
I wasn't working out back then. I wasn't following like a strict diet. I was a baby. Like back in those days you could scrape your knee and it would have healed like 4 hours later. Like
meanwhile, I'm sitting here, my knees are hurting.
Time, space, and opportunity. Like it's people ask, how did you bounce back? Oh, it's been over a decade. And we're not even going to call it a bounce back.
Granted, y'all, she does put in the work, and we can become motivated for Miss Jess herself. I must say, like, I gotta hype my friend up, okay? But that's important. But okay, speaking of your bounce back in your body and your lifestyle and your diet and stuff, I know that even in like comments of all Instagram and TikTok, a lot of people have actually asked you about Crohn's disease. And that's like a really, really big thing. And a lot of people, one, are finding out about the disease more now, I feel like. It's being talked about more and people are becoming aware. So for those that you don't know, Jess has Crohn's disease. And you've had it for how long now?
Wow, 10 years, because I got diagnosed when I was 19.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, I knew it was a little bit.
Being a mom and then an autoimmune diagnosis on top of that.
I think because like having a baby, like your body changes like inside and out. So many things change. But yeah, that triggered. I think I had like IBS for a while, long before then. Like and that's one of the things about Crohn's disease and a lot of autoimmune diseases is they are like wrongfully diagnosed, like at the proper. So I had been diagnosed with IBS, and then I got diagnosed with celiac disease. So at first, for the first almost year I had Crohn's, I was treating my ailment as if it was celiac disease. And so I was following like a very strict gluten-free diet, and I was still violently sick all the time. Like the wind could blow on me wrong. And I would be down for the count constantly, consistently in the hospital. I got down to like less than 80 pounds. I was like my body was literally like failing.
And let me remind y'all, Jess is like, how tall are you? Like 5'1"?
Well, now 5'2". I'm 5'2". She was talking about 5 foot.
Our Jess is like an itty bitty teeny weeny thing.
No,
and so the fact that you got down to 80 pounds, like that is bones, baby.
No. Yeah, like it's literally skin and bones. So then I went to like a gastroenterologist. Well, I had one, but I went to a new one. And I remember sitting in his office and like we went through like the whole evaluation. And he was like, I don't call it too soon without taking, the proper, measures, but I feel like you have Crohn's disease. And I was like, what is, I've never even heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, I had a colonoscopy done, an endoscopy done. And I'd had a biopsy taken of my small intestine, and it was the fastest. I mean, I think they called me back before I had even left like the operating place, and he was like, "Oh, this is one of the most severe cases
Oh my
of
gosh.
Crohn's disease I'd ever seen." And it had progressed, and there's like different stages of Crohn's disease. So mine had progressed so far because it had gone untreated for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, it was a long, long journey. So I recently got in remission last year, which is the stage that my Crohn's was in, almost unheard of. So again, shout out to God because he doesn't play about me.
Really doesn't.
No, he truly does not.
It's like kind of crazy.
But along with like I was on different steroids, and I was on Humira for 9 years. Those things coupled with diet and exercise, I think is what saved me. And a lot of people, like the Crohn's community that follows me, shout out to y'all.
Mm-hmm.
My people who found me. They ask me a lot of times, like, what helped you get into remission? Because it's literally almost unheard of. Like, it is so difficult.
So you think that it was like, obviously your diet that plays a huge factor.
Diet, exercise, like moving your body. Like, it doesn't just help with like, your muscles and like your mental health, like your internal organs, I would consider also muscles that need maintenance and they need help and care. So staying active was one, and stress and anxiety is no one's friend, but especially people who have
I can
tummy
imagine.
problems, like
Little tummy queens over here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's not fun.
I'll deep dive into it. I mean, that's a whole like the whole Crohn's is a whole beast that I can get into and
A
get
monster.
lost in.
A true monster.
Yeah, autoimmune is. So Jess and I we actually recently just made this discovery. So I don't eat gluten or dairy because I've got autoimmune myself. So like the struggle of autoimmune, like I think people underestimate like how impactful it is, how exhausting, how draining. And like you can look at somebody and people can be like, oh, Jess, look at her. Like she looks so put together. Like look at all of this. And like there's so much happening under the surface for people that like you just have no awareness. You have no idea what they're battling, what they're going through, the things they're taking on a daily basis. Like you see surface level.
Yeah.
So it's like, be kind, be a nice human. Let's not make assumptions.
IBD, that stands for irritable bowel disorders. Like that's something like not all
Might be a diagnosis that is coming over.
Brittany doesn't know it, but she's in the family with us.
No, Brittany's one of us. Yeah. She just is not diagnosed.
Sorry,
yet.
friends. Announcement.
Yeah. Special. That's really what this whole podcast was for. Brittany's
Me coming out about my IBS.
She's running a hot girl tummy issues clinic.
It's like more common than not.
It really
There's
is.
so many factors that I think contribute to it, where they're like environmental factors, obviously food. Like there's so much that goes into it. Like more people, I feel like have tummy problems than don't. So I feel like we need it. Just
So I'm like a podcast queen. I'm like I take in all the information, and I'm like
It's
autoimmune.
ridiculous.
I want to learn everything, and there's so much research coming out now that there's a lot of connections between trauma, childhood trauma, and stress, and like your body being in a constant fight or flight state, and then developing autoimmune diseases.
checks out.
And I'm like, oh,
Wow.
you don't say.
You don't.
That's
Wow.
actually crazy.
Yeah.
Because I could certainly believe
Yeah, like
that.
your body's not meant to be in a fight or flight state consistently. So like what havoc is it wreaking? And like your whole system is just flooded consistently with adrenaline, and then
Y'all, this is absolutely horrible of me to think about this. But like if you honest to God think about like when a dog gets like scared,
Yeah.
what do?
Their bowels just evacuate.
They evacuate.
So
I mean,
are you trying to tell us something?
No, we're like the Spider-Man meme. Everybody has stomach problems.
I love that. I love that. Okay, friends. So we had actually Jess did a Ask Me Anything because she was coming on the podcast and she's like, okay, what do y'all want to know? What do y'all want to hear? All of that.
Yeah.
So I actually have a question from the fans, I'm going to call. And this is word for word. It says, how you got from such a hard upbringing to the amazing woman / mother you are today. So one, that's so sweet.
So sweet.
Miss
Andrea Lynn.
Andrea Lynn. Yeah. So Andrea Lynn 257. Shout out to you, Miss Ma'am. Thank you for that, because it's definitely the nail on the head. Jess is a wonderful human being and a wonderful mother. But yeah, so going back, I know we already touched on it just a little bit, but like, how do you go from, such an upbringing to where you are today? Let's put it that way.
I think, it's been a journey. And it's not all been positive. It's not, I did not, like I said earlier, I didn't wake up every day thinking, oh, I've got this. Like, I'm about to make it out of the ghetto. Like, more often than not, I woke up thinking, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I am not capable. Like, I'm not good enough. I think it was just the constant overcoming of obstacles and God continuously showing me that I had a reason and I had a purpose, that just really kept me going. And eventually owning all of those experiences and being like, there's not many people who make it out of that circumstance that are on the other side and can tell their story and possibly even like share and make a difference with it. So I think, to wrap that up, just owning like your experiences and your traumas and like the things that you've been through that made you feel like you weren't good enough or you weren't capable enough of knowing, I made it through that, so I am that girl. You can't tell me that I'm not.
It's amazing. And that's what you and I have talked about, Mandy. Like, it's a lot of people think, oh, you go through like these trials and tribulations and they make you who you are, but people say that in a negative light. Mm-hmm. It's like we were talking about it earlier, because of our parents and the way that we were raised and the things that we saw, we would not be strong, independent women if that was not the case. And so it's like, although it sucks, like, we're talking about lack of boundaries and like lack of emotional intelligence and, love and nurturement and all that. It's, well, yes, those could obviously be seen as negative. It's like also too, because of that, I know what not to go for and I know how to show up for other people.
That's right.
So it's, going through all walks of life, I want to encourage women for sure. Like, it just keep going. Like, I promise, like, just open that other door. Like, step one foot in front of the other to try and figure it out.
Take it minute by minute.
Minute by minute.
My favorite, so we had Ashley on our podcast last week, which I think you would love her. She's amazing.
If you do, I do.
Yeah, incredible. And one thing she always says, like, how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so literally when I'm in the middle of something where I'm like, okay, this sucks, this is terrible. Like, I know I'm like riding up in the roller coaster, like a one bite at a time. Like, I have a whole elephant to eat and like, I'm not going to do it without moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. So, to wrap everything up, we have learned from Jess that one, she is an incredible person. Definitely someone who is going to always show up for someone else as well, but always show up for yourself.
Yeah.
You are a wonderful mother. You've got some tummy problems.
We're back.
But you've had a journey and you've come out so strong and so powerful. I want to know, and to let our audience know, what makes you feel empowered?
I actually have a living testament to that answer.
My favorurt answer so far.
I know. No one's going to be able to top this answer.
I have a living testament, and she's here.
Look at her.
She was taking a nap. This is what makes me feel empowered. This is my purpose. This is my.
She's like, Mom.
So not here for this. This is what I get out of bed in the morning for. This is what I get for. This is what makes me feel strong. Stop, I'll cry. She smells so good. She still smells new.
Oh, she smells like a little baby. Oh, there went her light.
She still has the new baby smell.
Okay, Miss Autumn, do you mind if I ask you a question really quick? No. Okay. See, y'all, she's the cutest thing ever.
What is something you love doing with your mom?
Yeah.
Probably just staying with her. Just to make sure I get to hang out with her or shopping with her. Like, we have to do tomorrow. Oh, yeah, we have to go shopping tomorrow. Because shopping is like our favorite thing. Like, we're two of the girliest girls.
Absolutely.
There ever was.
The little get ready with me's and outfit checks before Target runs.
No, this is my, like, secret weapon when it comes to content. Like,
yeah, honestly.
Your mind.
I need you to help me. Well, friends, those that are listening, friends, we did bring Autumn out, but go see us. Make sure you're listening in, tuning in. But this has been a wonderful episode. We've had 2 wonderful special guests, and we're so thankful.
Thank you for having us, buddy.
Of course.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.